for years and not being used when it was so good. And that was another break for me. Char's friend was a rock nut from a little on too, but I mean not quite to the extent that I was. But boy, she was so going delighted to get my stuff. Actually, well, I told her, so I'll give you you can have it for $200, about 2 trucks full of stuff.
Wow.
And she gave me 300, but she still got a bargain. Will you tell them about our weather here? How nice and cool it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting ready for the frost. I told you I pulled the plants out behind the house over there.
Oh, there's a squirrel in there.
And a feeder?
No, on the ground eating something.
Oh yeah. Well, that's not uncommon. There's a lot of squirrels here.
Is he eating the garlic?
Oh, I dumped that rest of that garlic dessert out there. Maybe he's chewing on the dessert. It had a cake crust and everything. I thought the birds would eat it. Where do you see the squirrel? Where?
He's over here on the ground.
Oh. How do you feed them? They eat all kinds of things. Oh, there might be some bulbs dug up there. I did a lot of pulling out and with things out there. Different bulbs in the ground, yeah. Yeah, these squirrels are a little spoiled, you know. They're supposed to be picking up stuff and hoarding it for the winter, but they're so going and spoiled and getting fed anytime they go out and rummage around in neighborhoods. They don't have to actually worry too much about storage.
Uncle Ed, what was your favorite type of rock to find?
That one, that jade in there.
What's your favorite type of rock to find?
Mine? Well, to work with for the feel and texture and everything, it was Montana agate. But for color and everything, like I told you, it was chrysoprase. But there are so many things. I mean, it's I can understand why it's not more. Of course, it's a little expensive now. Of course, it was expensive enough when I started, but it's a fascinating hobby. Well, of course, maybe everybody's tastes aren't the same, but from child on, I used to roam the beach, pick up stones, you know, and things. So it probably came naturally to me when I found what you could do with agate and jasper and stuff like that, you know, and I just stumbled on that almost by mistakes.
Did anybody teach you? Did you teach yourself?
Oh yeah, no, I went to class for a while, but it wasn't too many months after that I ended up taking over the class and I was a teacher. Yeah, we had classes in the museum, pretty successful classes, quite a few students for 8, 9, 10, 12 years. But after my wife died, I stopped teaching. It was a lot of fun. But some people came down, they were helpless. You know, lost cause, they would never do it.
Right.
But then again, some of them just come naturally to it. It was interesting. Yeah, my wife enjoyed it too. She used to come down there all the time with me when I was teaching class. She was a great help. She has such a good nature. I mean, everybody liked her, so that helped the class quite a bit.
What was it like growing up with, you know, Josie and Winnie and Dorothy? Like, what are your earliest memories?
Talking about growing up, Josie, you'll remember that. Every once in a while, my mother and dad would go out. I mean, this is quite some few years ago, but her and I always seemed to get in a tangle, chasing each other around the dining room table. We had a round table, and one night we got into a tiff. Must have been a wedding present, but it was a large, bold glass lamp, orange, with painted the flowers on it and stuff. It was actually a beautiful thing. But anyway, I ended the life of that thing. I ran into it and smashed it up. But surprisingly, I didn't get into a whole lot of trouble with it. Maybe my mother wasn't too crazy about the lamp, I don't know. But we had it for a good many years.
Yeah.
It was kind of a big table lamp with a base like that, and I look, shoot, the shade must have been close to 30 inches across on the bottom, you know, with a curled under design and stuff. I remember it pretty vividly. Oh, incidentally, did you ever notice that lamp I got? I don't know who's got their bee on that thing. Somebody's got their eye on it already. But I bought it at somebody's sale looking to make money for their daughter or something or other. An antique kerosene lamp.
Oh, yeah?
But it's I don't know if it's rewired for electricity or what, but it's two-piece thing with wrong globe on the top and the bottom. Yeah, I almost put that in a rummage sale or something. I figured who it is wants that thing. If it's your mother or somebody wants it. It's all right by me. Well, what do you do with something like that? I'll put it in a file for
Yeah.
somebody to look at it.
Yeah.
Reminisce of the year you were here on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta admit, you guys sure had an active vacation. It was pretty nice. Yeah, I was a little concerned what you were going to do because I knew I wasn't going to help you much doing anything.
Yeah, we can keep busy ourselves.
Yeah, we got a break this week too. The garden grass wasn't growing too fast. I didn't have to cut the grass. I'm surprised with that little rain we had that the thing didn't sprout out again. But at least it's still green for as dry as it was. The lawns are still green enough here.
Yeah.
Yeah, our September was a horribly dry month.
What else about my grandma do you remember?
But your grandma?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Well, she was in age next to me, so if we had any tiffs or anything, it would be more apt to be her and I, other than the younger ones.
Yeah.
But by nature, I think Dorothy and Winnie were a little, how would I put it, a little more timid natured than Josie was. Josie a little higher spirit than the other girls, I think, anyway. Of course, Winnie, she was quite active and athletic, but that polio really slowed her down. I mean, pretty shocking.
How old was she when she got it?
70-something. You know, she was about 18 years old, being left-handed. I took her to the bowling alley to teach her to bowl one afternoon.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how good she was being left-handed, and me trying to show her left-handed. She had a few strikes and everything. I mean, just first time she ever tried it. I mean, she was quite athletic and pretty good. And she fooled a little bit with basketball and all of that, you know.
Yeah.
I think she was only about 18 years old when she got her polio, you know. That was a pretty severe case. I don't know if you're aware about how bad a case she had. Well, of course, you know, she was completely paralyzed for about, I don't know, 6-7 months in the hospital.
Oh, really?
Couldn't feed her or anything. I remember one day she laid there and her eyes were going and she wasn't speaking or anything, you know. And so everybody's trying to figure out what's bothering her. You know, she couldn't do anything. And finally we look and look and look. Here, caterpillars crawling around in a plant that was right next to her bed. She saw that caterpillar and boy, it just had her. Couldn't explain to anybody what was upsetting her and what she was afraid of.
That's funny.
Finally we found the caterpillar and that was it. She was satisfied. She was calm. Yeah, all the months she was up there, she had a lot of visitors, a lot of school friends, things like that. Yeah, that was pretty good, quite an experience in her life. Then after she got out of there, she started gaining her ability to get on her feet and everything. She had to go to therapy classes, which was part of my job to transport her back and forth to her therapy classes. And for a while she was doing quite well, getting by with just a cane. Then she had this relapse of polio that affected quite a few people some years ago, and she got quite a bit worse, and she just stayed that way the rest of her life.
Was there ever a time after the depression that you like knew the depression was done? You know, was there like a key moment?
That's automatic. Of course, you know that thing. The Second World War started was being generated, and I think that had more to do to pull the country out of the depression than anything.
Yeah.
But well, I got a job in 1938. It was a factory job, but that was more or less the tail end of the depression. You know, it was really, by times weren't really great, but I mean, things were improving quite a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, those were really sometimes, because I wasn't quite that old that I really, well, I was 29, 1929, I was 7 years old. Old enough to recollect and remember quite a bit of it, you know.
Yeah.
That's basically when the crash, so-called crash, happened in 1929, and I was 7 years old then.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and through the years. But interesting thing about the Depression, it was so widespread that you hardly ever knew or gave it a thought about anybody really being well-to-do. Everybody seemed like they were all in the same boat.
Yeah.
You know, everybody had tough times, tough conditions, and I don't know. All aside from the parents and things that had to feed the families and stuff, it was a lot different than being a child, you know. But as far as feeling bad about not having the fancy clothes and maybe the best food and everything, like I say, everybody was in the same boat.
Yeah. Didn't matter.
Yeah. How long is that thing going to run that she's got to go there?
Oh, I have no idea.
Turn the thing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I left the house when you guys took your catnaps, so I wouldn't bother you, and I emptied some of them pots that were in front of the house over there and put them behind the house. I've been wanting to do that for I don't know how long, but little by little there's less and less I can do. I mean, I gotta try to get as much done as I can. You know, I only have a month or so to really do stuff now outside, but I don't think I'm gonna fool with cleaning up the yard or anything. I just leave the frost knock it down and leave it sit till spring now.
What's your
I cleaned out some of the thicker plants and stuff for a few weeks ago in the backyard here.
what's your favorite country you've ever been to?
Country where?
What's your favorite country? Is there a favorite one that?
You mean like to visit?
Yeah.
Well, being involved in Lapidary and all of that, I think probably we'll say New Zealand. New Zealand or Australia, I mean, if I ever traveled to that extent, it would be that way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I enjoyed going out west so much just for the reason of looking for rocks and things there. Because New Zealand's a beautiful country, and that's where the chrysoprase comes from. That's one of my favorite rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked to go on there and got a line on a nice 2 or 3 pound block of chrysoprase. That would have been great. That was a beautiful stone. Of course, jade was nice. I mean, interesting thing of that is jade is the texture of it altogether different than something else, but it had what they refer to more like a toughness, and it was a lot of work to get a polish on the jade. It was a lot of work to sand it down fine enough, and then after you sanded it down fine enough, it was just as much work to get a polish on it. It was very interesting. I mean, in my books, I enjoyed it no end, no end. Yeah, for all the things I tried, you know, hunting and fishing, archery a little bit and whatnot, nothing ever interested me all that much until I hit Lapidary, and boy, that kept me going for at least 35 years. I loved it. You know, like you can see, I got enough of the stuff laying around the house yet.
Who introduced you to it? Like, how'd you start with rocks?
My uncle, I don't know if he was a foreman at work or not, but anyway, one of the foremen at work and his wife were involved in it, and there was a club in the city, and my uncle's got it set up, and he started to do it, and I just went down, and they had a little motel over here, and I used to go over there quite a bit. Anyway, I went down the basement to see what they were up to and what they were doing, and I just went down and tried my hand at it a little bit, and geez, I was really fascinated. Then I found out that they had the class at the museum, so I went and took in the classes, which my uncle never did. But I took in the classes, and to tell you the truth, I was actually surprised that it came to me as easily as it did, because there was a lot of close work and all of that, but I had pretty good success with it, I think. But these people that got it started, I mean, oh, they did beautiful work. The guy's wife, I mean, she could polish up some of the tiniest stuff, you know, like little bits of opal, you know, for, you know, I don't know how to explain the millimeter sizes, but impossibly small. I mean, she could manage all of that stuff to sand it down and polish it and, you know, keep a shape and one thing or another. Really interesting. Their weakness for rock cutting was jade. And, oh, they had a magnificent collection of jade. That she gave me a little block of what she called starlight jade. Quite interesting. You'd cut it up and polish it. It had a specks of just a little bit lighter green color than the jade itself, so that when it was polished and domed and all that, it looked like starlight in there. That's why she called it starlight. Unless she bought it and it was called starlight, I don't know. But beautiful piece of jade.
What did your parents do?
I don't know. Well, my dad came over in this country as a boy. I think he was 15, 16 years old. I don't know what he did in Europe, to tell you the truth.
What year was that? Do you know?
No. Your mother might have information like that. She did a lot of questioning and stuff through the years. Your mother, she's got more information on that than I have, to tell you the truth. But my dad came over here, and I don't know if he started to work in the bed factory here right as soon as he got to the city. And probably, because I think he was quite young when he started to work here. But he loved it. I mean, he worked there till he was 70-some years old, quite a long time. I think he had something like 50 years on a job there,
Wow.
believe it or not, all factory work, but he loved it. I mean, so there was nothing wrong with that. He enjoyed his work. And then the factory was sold out, was moved to Indiana, and they wanted him to go to Indiana with them, you know, to help set up one thing or another for his experience and all that, but my mother wouldn't leave him go. Because he had worked already long enough. I mean, like I say, he must have been well of 75, 76 years old or something, still working. Nowadays, you know, people are supposed to work till 65 in a job like that, and most of them retire at 62 like I did. But he worked well into his 70s. Yeah, if they wouldn't have moved from the city, he probably would have worked longer at the job. Cause, like I say, he was in good shape and he enjoyed it. And I was concerned what he was going to do with himself after working, because he didn't seem to have any interest or anything in sports enjoyment or anything. But he retired, and it just almost amazed me how he took an interest into watching basketball and sports like that, and I never thought he had an interest in it at all. But of course, he loved to watch boxing. But my sisters always told me, don't ever tell Dad when there's going to be a boxing match on or something, because they didn't want him to do it because they were afraid he'd get a heart attack watching it. Yeah, so the poor guy never got to watch many boxing matches on television. Yeah, talking, reminiscing about things like that. His sister had a craze for this professional wrestling, you know, that other act that they put on.
Yeah.
He just loved it. She loved it. Oh,
Your
yeah.
dad's sister? Huh? Your dad's sister?
Yeah, you know the wrestling I'm talking about.
Yeah. The WWF.
Slam each other around.
Yeah, chairs and things.
She loved it, of all things. Yeah, she was fascinated with it. And it was just a show, you know, I mean, actually. Hey, what was that we did the other day? Were you with me when we went to see these Lipsicon horses?
Yeah, that was about
13
years ago.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was wondering if you would have been interested to go see that, but I thought to myself, you might have been alone the last time we went. Because was that the time when the ponies came across the field and into the arena after they came from the barns?
I don't remember that.
But Bree and I were there, yeah.
If you were there when this happened, you would remember that, because that was, the ponies, this Lipsicon horse is a white horse. but the ponies were still dark, you know, they didn't get their white color yet.
Mm.
But they came across this field in more or less a kind of an exuberant mood, you know, bouncing around, one thing another. But they got into that arena and they were just like puppies that got out of a cage or something. Oh, they just bounced all over the page, all over the thing, and people just roared. I mean, enjoyed them so much. It was really interesting. And that Lipscomb show, that's still put on, you know.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's the season was over or not too long ago, I read it in the news bulletin here, but I was thinking I would like to go with the kids next door, but it's so hard to find them when they got the time to want to do something like that. I don't really know if they would be interested in seeing horses or not, but are you familiar with that Lipscomb horse? It came from Europe.
Yeah.
It's a European breed, really a classy horse. Not a whole lot of them around, I don't think.
Mm.
But the area where they are kept, just across the line, it's more or less horse country. A lot of stables and things. You know, you do a lot of horse riding and all of that stuff. You drive through there, all fenced. All the open fields and things for horses to graze in and one thing and another.
Hmm.
Yeah, we got a break in the weather. At least we haven't got a gale wind coming off of the lake to give us a bad chill. Look at the windmill out there now, it's just barely moving, you know, about 2 miles an hour. Yeah, it was just a video thing. Too bad one of Dorothy's dogs weren't around yet. But a dog could put on a show for you how
Yeah.
beautiful they were.
I think we have some old videos.
Of the dogs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, some woman down by the lake a year or so ago had a Wheaton puppy.
Oh.
She was walking down there, and boy, I couldn't resist getting over to make contact with her, ask her where she got it, one thing or another, you know, but it was altogether a different association with her dog than the girls had with theirs. After a while, she had the thing, had the haircut, but it wasn't very well groomed the way it was done. I mean, she butchered, you know, it didn't even look like a soft-coated Wheaton Terrier anymore. It was kind of sad. Interesting dog, though. I mean, every dog had a different personality.
Yeah.
This dog that she had seemed like it was very aloof. wasn't interested in making friends. Very indifferent.
Why did they get into the Wheaton Terrier dogs? Why did they choose that dog?
Well, just something they saw somewhere and liked. And their first puppy, I don't think they even bought in Milwaukee. I don't know where they bought it, but somewhere along the line they made this connection with this Betty in Milwaukee, and then they joined at their club in Milwaukee. And of course, I mean, you know the history of that. After that, they had a big van. They went to shows, and I think they went to a show in Florida, Pennsylvania, and I don't know where. Load up the back end with crates, 4 or 5 dogs, and Betty and Dorothy and Winnie, and away they would go. Of course, Betty, she showed them too, you know, she knew how to display them and ring. Dorothy never did that. Although Dorothy trained one of her dogs for obedience, where they put on an obedience show, and she was good at that. She had a very good dog that was.
Wasn't Carrie pretty good at that? Carrie Rose?
She was the best one.
Yeah.
She was the best one. Yeah, that was her specialty, obedience. But she was unreliable around children. I
Yeah.
don't know, she may not have been feeling good or something or other, because that was the one that died. Just in her, girls were going to go to sleep, and they were going to call the dog to go to their crate, you know, to go to sleep. And the dog never came and just passed away.
Oh.
Now it's about 9 o'clock at night, and well, so I go over there, and she was upset, and I said, well, I'll take her outside and put her in the garage, you know, put her in the garage overnight. Her eyes almost fell out. Oh, no way! So we had to go trotting somewhere between Kenosha and Racine out in the county to find a veterinarian. They had all night service and stuff. Take the dead dog over there.
Oh, goodness.
But it got done. Then they had it cremated, and then they had all the 4 or 5 of them boxes that had the dog's ashes that they were cremated in. And
Yeah.
I know when Dorothy was interred, I don't know if any of them were buried with her, but somewhere along the line, I didn't realize that was going on. I don't know who knew it, but I mean, the rest of them, I think they were buried with Winnie. It's a little box like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of jobs have you had in your life?
Dogs?
Jobs. What did you do for a living?
Oh, I was a factory worker. Yeah, 40 years in a wire rope mill. Yeah. You know, strange thing, talking dogs, you know, my dad had a dog as long as I can remember. He liked the dog in the house, you know, in the family. His weakness was a fox terrier or a rat terrier because they could catch mice and rats. And where we lived, you know, the things were there, you know, to be caught in the fall of the year. You always had to watch for them so they wouldn't get in the house.
Mm.
But if they would get in the house, one thing about a terrier like that, they smelled them and he knew it was in the house. And all he had to do was find where the thing was, and eventually the dog would put an end to it.
Ah.
Yeah. Now one time we used to have a coal bin in the basement, and the coal man delivered the coal and left the window open for a little too long before it was closed, and a rat got in the basement. And one night we were eating our dinner, or supper at the time we called it supper, but anyway, we were eating, and the dog wasn't coming up from downstairs. My dad went to the head of the stairs and called the dog, and the dog come running to the foot of the stairs, and then ran back again. So my dad goes down the basement, I knew something was up. Here the dog had a rat cornered on a windowsill, in the basement windowsill. Yeah, so my dad went down there, and the basement was divided in 3 rooms. My dad went down there and knocked the rat off of the windowsill, it hit the floor and take off, you know, and as it went across the floor and heading for the other room, the dog nailed it. And an interesting thing about that dog, even with a mouse, from a thing like that, a size like that, it would run behind and grab it by the back of the neck, or the nape, you know, the back of the neck, and snap it and drop it. Wouldn't bother, you know, like a cat would sit around
Play with it,
you know.
yeah.
But even with a mouse, it could do that, and a rat. Just give it a snap and drop it.
Huh.
Actually, probably break its neck, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Yeah, I seen the dogs catch more than one mouse, and another time they had a pipe behind the garage that was there too long, and the rats made a nest in it. And somewhere along the line, I don't know if the dog found it or what, and my dad picked up the pipe and emptied it out, and 3 or 4 little rats come out of there, you know, and the dog polishes them off, one after the other. Yeah, but you know, the older you get and you start reminiscing, I mean, after a while, all you do is talk about yourself. Like I told you with my neighbor over there, I think they got disgusted with me already. Through the years, making friends with them, they probably knows much about me as some of my relation, because I sit over there and talk, you know, and talk about myself, and reminisce about this and reminisce about that. One thing another. Yeah, maybe I should tell them people that are interested in watching this about sad news we have here, that fishing is so terrible.
Used to be good though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's just beautiful, beautiful. Oh, you could fish in a lake here for different things, and go inland and fish for different things, with a little different kind of fishing, and fish in some streams. Somehow it was really excellent fishing. Not only that, you know, the climate is so nice here. I mean, you have different seasons and stuff. Summer months, you might get a few hot days, 3, 4, 5 hot days, and the rest of the time it's more or less comfortable. Winter can get a little crisp at times, but little by little, even the winters are getting milder. I don't think we've had a 10 below 0 winter for 4 or 5 years now that I can recall.
What's the biggest fish you ever caught?
Interesting enough, it was a northern that I caught with that little plastic bait that we make. Now we were fishing on the Mississippi River on what they call a lock. You get the fish on a kind of a wall, and it was towards the fall of the year, and we were fishing for bluegills and walleye, and I tied into this northern, and fortunately the water was cold, getting cold enough already. It kind of slowed the fish down, made it a little sluggish, but it was something like 40 inches or so. Just that little plastic worm with probably a 4-pound test line. So I just had to take my sweet time, make it tighter enough so you could scoop it up. And scooped it up and put it in a bucket, head and tail sticking out. Yeah, some farmer from Minnesota sitting there, took it home. Yeah, I caught a couple of beautiful black bass up north with them little plastic worms they make too. But for a good many years after I stopped using crankbaits and things, I just used that little plastic bait that we were making for everything and anything. And different things would hit. I caught quite a few actually undersized muskie, 20, 24, 25 inches long on that little plastic thing. Crappie and bluegills, of course, that was especially for that. Of course, that's all we use for perch fishing too, that little plastic worm. But I don't know if I'll be making any more of them or not. I probably may get the itch during the winter and buy another quart or so plastic and make some more, but perch fishing got so bad here that there isn't even much interest in them plastic worms here. All the way up north, this friend of mine says that people are still looking for that plastic worm. This one fellow was borrowing the mold all the time, and he'd make up kits selling them.
Yeah.
Of course, my uncle used to sell them on a pier in Chicago every spring. Summer, we'd fish what they call Montrose Pier there, and people would wait for him to show up in the spring and stock up for the summer. Sometimes he'd make $300. Imagine that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a good pastime for him. I mean, made him enough money to pay for his material and one thing or another to make them and all of that. Help pay for the gas back and forth to Chicago. Perch fishing was out of this world, because we could catch a 5-gallon bucket of perch between us. Yeah, and that changed too through the years. Water started to clear up with the zebra mussel infestation, and after it started clearing up, as soon as the light would get brighter in the morning, they would leave. But when we fished there years ago, we could fish practically all day from daylight till the time we went home, and they just kept biting until we just got sick of filling the bucket, and just come home. Yeah, it's talking fever for fish. This uncle of mine, I mean, he just loved perch fishing. Oh, I don't know. Did you see that sign he had on his bucket? How did it go? I can't recall what it is. Some derogatory remark towards the wife. I mean, just as long nobody would bother his fishing, but I don't recall what it was. Donna's got a picture of it. Him sitting on the North Pier, and she took a picture of him from the back. Of course, it might even been on my bucket. I don't know, but. How long has that thing been running now?
About 34 minutes.
Yeah. And how can you show it? Will you be able to show that on your TV screen or what?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty nice then, huh?
Yeah.
Or a computer, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could you blow that up on your big size screen TV, or is it limited to the size?
No, you could. It'll just probably get a little bit less.
How's the exposure? I mean, is it good? I mean, not blurred, expanded or anything?
It might be a little bit grainy on a bigger TV,
yeah.
but it won't be bad.
Could you show it in a smaller dimension too, or not?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. I told you, your dad and then bought me that Kodak thing, you know, that I suppose I should be able to do all of that, but they use it once to take a picture. There's your squirrel out there. Yeah, been a good year for the last 2 years for squirrels. I mean, overproductive squirrels all over the place. But fortunately, I think the older squirrels must drive them out where they go into another area. I think you ought to tune it off, Bree.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got enough, haven't you?
Oh, sure.
You're talking nonsense already.
Well, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. My pleasure. Hey, it was so nice having you guys here. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I might have been thinking already I'd probably never see you up here anymore, you know?
Well, that's not gonna happen.
That's great. Should have told them about your ball game last night.
Yeah, how about them Cubs?
Yeah, how about them Cubs? Disgusting. Bruising up the Brewers 2 nights in a row. Yeah, Dorothy and Winnie wouldn't have been too happy with you gloating over the Cubs. Yeah, Dorothy and Winnie, they were pretty avid Cub fans. Of course, Dorothy and Winnie were anything Wisconsin. Bucks, Brewers, Packers. And, I'll enjoy anybody. Cubs, Sox, Brewers, that's right by me.
Yeah, I remember visiting here before and they listened to the baseball games on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my dad took that kind of thing in too after he retired. But he kept himself busy with yard work and stuff for a good many years. I mean, he lived to be 88 and he was physically quite active and did quite well until he was almost 85 years old. Although the doctor laid the law down when he was going on 80 years old to stay off the ladder, you know. The side of the house for rain pipes and one thing or another.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he didn't have to. Of course, I mean, when I had my hip replaced after that, they laid down the law to us, you know, no ladders, so that's why I don't do my rain pipes anymore, you know, cleaning my rain pipes out and things like that. And otherwise, I think I would still be able to do that. Because, hey, last summer I trimmed my bushes and I managed to do it again this summer, so I'm fortunate to be able to do as much as I'm still doing. Makes it nice. You can at least keep active in some ways. Like you keep saying, you know, oh, you should hire somebody to do your lawn, but the best exercise in the world for me, you know, go out there and cut the grass. But I only do it in 2 sessions now. I don't do it an hour at a time. I do half and half hour one place and half hour the other place.
Yeah.
Something to do though.
Yeah.
Yeah, my winters used to be a lot easier to take years ago when I used to spend so much time in the basement, you know, making fishing lures and tying fishing lures, and I just don't do any of that stuff anymore. So, but the winters are getting longer and longer, which is no joke.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
No, keep our fingers crossed, you know, so it's going to be a mild winter. Occasionally, you know, some winters are fairly mild. Last winter was a little bit on the rough side. We had to share the snow. Matter of fact, we had quite a bit of snow because I had a little problem with my gutters in the back of the house not being cleaned out, and ice and snow melt getting into my sidewall by the kitchen window over there was starting to do a little damage. So I talked to little Sammy next door and make sure he gets my gutters before they freeze up this fall. Of course, we did it once last fall, but then we had a kind of a fast cold snap and it just froze up the leaves in there, and they just never thawed out enough again to get the job done later, so suffered with it through the winter. I even bought a roof rake to pull some of the snow off of the roof, and it helped. Could reach up and just do the edges, so it's for talking about a house like this with them overhangs and things. A house like that isn't too bad. I mean, the stuff will slide right off over the overhang of the gutter. I mean, doesn't cause too much damage that way. Yeah, you want to talk up a storm for, I mean, how long? We're talking winters and stuff. So many interesting things. Richie and I used to take these trips after my wife died. And one year we took her way back. We took her way through the pass in what was it, Montana, or where we had to go up over a pass to come home, get a little mountain scenery, and we stopped in a little place for breakfast, and the ranchers and people that live by close by were talking about getting their government permits to go into the forest and stuff to cut wood and stacking wood for the winter fuel and all of that. That was kind of interesting to me. Yeah, all of the years I traveled west, I mean, got to know a lot of things about the people there. Got to understand how it's such a strong Republican stronghold, because they're really an independent class of people and very self-reliant. Well, you take a rancher, for instance. I mean, he may live 20 miles from something. He's backing off on the road 5-6 miles where his house is, and quite interesting. Yeah, we got to know one couple that way. Went into a ranch she had beyond her house, back into the hills, so forth, where they had stored groceries and stuff for winter, different times of the year. You know, when they worked on sheep and one thing and another, all of that. That was in Wyoming, where that couple lived. Yeah, like I said, you get off on the highway, you go into the country there, 20-30 miles, there's nothing there, just ranch land and things like that.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
All right, well, we'll say goodbye now.
Yeah, thanks again, huh? Bye-bye.